The open door. I didn't know if she would hear the car pulling up onto her driveway. She is often busy chattering to the blackbirds and starlings, whether she is in the garden or at the kitchen sink looking out of the window, arthritic hands in warm soapy dishwater. Either way, I knew she would already have spent 10 minutes struggling to get the rusty bolt open on the garden gate so that I could let myself in. I could see that she had already fed the birds, as there were pigeons and collared doves swooping over the top of the ceanothus into the garden. I've only known her for a year. I connected with her through the telephone companion calling during the pandemic. A whole year of lockdowns, restrictions and shielding. She hasn't left the house more than half a dozen times, usually with me, on a couple of short outings to the garden centre when support bubbles and rules have allowed. On those days, the boot of my car would be filled to the brim with her mobility rollator, large bags of birdseed, a variety of pots and plants to take home, enough birthday cards to last the coming months, and a selection of random items such as aprons, purses and handkerchiefs that might make useful gifts. Today my car is full of the aroma of freshly cooked fish and chips, now steaming in the paper bag on the seat beside me. Now that we are both double dosed with the COVID-19 vaccine, we have deemed it safe to sit outside, socially distanced of course, and share a lunchtime meal in the garden. I'm hoping that the gardener has been this week and carried out the planned repairs to the arbour, damp rotten timbers removed and hopefully new reinforcement wood put in at the back of the seat to make it stable. I must be mindful as I open the garden gate not to trip over any of the pots that wildly clutter every corner of the garden, some with recognisable plants and shrubs in, others with nature's finest yellow dandelions and seed heads. Woe betide anyone who deliberately or inadvertently removes or treads on any plant or weed that is blooming. I'm wearing my long yellow cardigan with blue jeans. She doesn't like black or grey. She's probably wearing her blue and orange skirt, and she will have brushed her hair that hasn't been cut for months and months. Even though they're now open, she can't get to the hairdressers unless I take her or unless she can book a taxi. The taxi driver is always so impatient with her. It takes her too long to get in and out of the car, runs over the planned time, can't easily get the rollator in and out of the boot. She's been in this bungalow for 16 years, never married. She made a point of telling me that she wasn't gay the first time that we spoke. She would have loved to have been married and have children. It just never happened. She has been kissed once, and she told me that she had never done any of that other stuff. You know, sex. Didn't understand what it was all about. She had a hysterectomy when she was 43. She spent over 20 years working in various children's homes until she was forced to retire through poor health, after an incident in which she was attacked by one of the resident teenagers. Soon after that, she ended up having to look after her mother, who had developed dementia. The lounge curtains are open, butterfly fabric dancing at the edges of the window, crystals on the mantel catching the sunlight that then bounces off the angel who sits on top of the bookcase. As well as talking to the birds, she talks to the angels. She asks them for healing when her lymphedema is too painful to bear, asks for help when she's misplaced something, asks for peace when the TV tells her yet more terrible news. I'm aware that the fish and chips may be going a little soggy in the bag. I find my face mask in the pocket and adjust my glasses to sit so that the lenses don't steam up. We had an awful incident a few months ago when we were taking advantage of the outdoor exercise rule. It wasn't a long walk, just a short stroll with the rollator around the block for some fresh air. It was a particularly cold day, about 2 degrees, which was adding to the issue of glasses steaming up. All of a sudden, the rollator went flying one way and she went the other, thump, onto the damp grass bank beside the stream. There was no way I could get her back up onto her feet. A man walking his dog stopped. No one was supposed to get closer than 2 metres. He went home and fetched a blanket and a hot water bottle. I wrapped her up. I was freezing. She said she wouldn't go to hospital. She knew someone who went, caught COVID and died. I had no mobile phone signal, so I had to hit the button that pops up from time to time, emergency calls only. The ambulance had come soon. 2 hours later, another hot water bottle and a duvet. Now dusk, the paramedics finally arrived. She still refused to go to hospital, but they managed to get her into the ambulance and thoroughly checked over before safely returning her to the bungalow and settling her back in at home. Battered and bruised, but nothing broken, and a good story to tell when her older sister called her from the Isle of Wight. They haven't seen each other for over 15 years. The weeds beside the path were in full bloom. Purple nettles, clover, dandelion clocks. The pyrocanthera, washed with red berries, was pulling at the fence panel, causing it to clatter in the wind. I pushed on the latch. "Hello, morning," I sang as I opened the gate. My foot kicked a piece of broken terracotta pot. There she was, over the other side of the garden, sitting in the arbour. She hasn't heard me. She probably didn't go to bed again last night. She often sleeps in the chair. She's a night owl, stays up sorting paperwork, moves furniture about, does an online grocery order. It's the best time to book a delivery slot. Bedtime is always a challenge for her, as she has to set up the sleep apnea machine. It's easier to stay upright in the armchair in the lounge instead. I pick my way through the maze of garden pots. The back door is open, and I see that she's got the plates, cutlery and malt vinegar out ready. I switch on the little belling oven to warm the fish and chips. She's already got her 2 favourite mugs out of the cupboard, so I make us a cup of tea. The milk's not quite on the turn. She doesn't stir when I put the mugs down, or when the blackbird sends out an alarm call at the sight of me. Her garden has always been her sanctuary, her happy place. She thinks nothing of spending £60 a week on bird food, despite living on a state pension. As she says, she doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, doesn't have holidays, and doesn't run a car. To her, the birds and next door's cat Tilly are her family. I sit down on the plastic chair beside her in the arbour. I take a sip of tea. I reach into my bag and I take out my mobile phone. No signal. Emergency calls only. I touch the red button. It connects. I tell them that they can come in through the garden. The gate is already open.